Hello everyone, and welcome to part 2 of my ultimate guide to Geoguessr Battle Royale series, where I will be going over how to recognize and differentiate the countries of North America. If you haven't yet seen the first part of this series, where I go over Battle Royale strategy and basics, then I would highly suggest that you go and watch that first, the link to which future me will hopefully remember to link in the description and add on screen right now. Last thing before the video starts, if you like my content and don't want to miss when I upload these tutorials or other videos, then please consider subscribing. It helps me a ton and I would really appreciate it. So with that out of the way, let's get into the tips and tricks. In all of North America, there are only 4 countries that you can currently get in Battle Royale: Canada, the US, Mexico, and Guatemala. However, I'm actually leaving Mexico and Guatemala from what I'm considering North America, even though they are technically part of the continent, as it just makes more sense to compare them to South American countries, which just leaves Canada and the US. North America comes in quite a variety of landscapes, but is pretty easy to recognize. There are a few main things to look for that are consistent no matter which country you are in. You should be driving on the right-hand side of the road. The sun should be in the south, which shows that you're in the northern hemisphere, or at least not too far north. The landscape should not feel extremely tropical, and the license plates should, for the most part, be pretty narrow. Differentiating between these two countries, however, is a bit more difficult. As I said in the previous tutorial, some of the best clues to tell apart similar countries are flags and website domain names. In most places in the US or Canada, you will likely be able to find a country flag fairly quickly. I assume most of you know what the US and Canadian flags look like, but if not, future editor me will hopefully be showing a picture of them on screen right now. As for web domain names, these two countries don't really use their national domains and websites, most of them ending in .com. So I guess if you see a bunch of .coms, that's another good indication that you are either in the US or Canada. One thing that I didn't mention in the things that are similar between these countries is language, which is strange as you would think that both of these countries have English as their main language, which is partly true. All of the US uses English as their main language, and you'd be lucky to find someone that could speak anything else. And the same is mostly true with Canada, except, of course, for the province of Quebec, where the official language is actually French. This can be best recognized by stop signs, which say arrête instead of stop. If you see this, you know that you're not only in Canada, but also what province you're in, which is a good tip for if you ever decide to leave Battle Royale and play the actual game for once. But what if you don't have any of these clues? No flags, no license plates, no language, no nothing. Just a random ass road in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Well, there's still plenty of other ways to tell these countries apart. The first of which being camera generations. If you don't know what I mean by camera generations, I would highly recommend that you go and watch GeoPeter's tutorial video on them, the link to which will of course be in the description and on screen right now. The US has all 4 camera generations, while Canada only has generations 2, 3, and 4, meaning that if you see generation 1, this extremely blurry coverage, in North America, it is guaranteed to be the US. Road lines can also be a good indicator. Both the US and Canada have a yellow center line on most roads with white on the outside, which can be another good way to recognize North America. While this is not by any means a foolproof way to tell apart the two countries, Canada usually tends to have a single yellow divider line, while the US tends to have a double yellow divider line. However, it is possible to find either in both countries. Another thing that you will often be able to find on any road is a sign with a speed limit on it. The US uses the imperial system, meaning that all speed limits will be in miles, not kilometers, per hour. As Myanmar and Liberia are not currently in Geoguessr, the US is actually the only country in the game that uses miles instead of kilometers. Even if the unit of the speed limit is not specified on the sign, miles are much longer than kilometers, meaning that the speed limit numbers in the US will generally be significantly less than those in Canada. The last tip I have to tell apart the US and Canada is landscape. Their landscapes are very similar, as I said earlier, but there are some key things that can be used to separate them. Obviously, Canada is much further north than the US, meaning that it is generally much colder looking than the US, and doesn't have deserts or hot dry plains, which make up most of the mid-US. Canada is also much flatter, its only significant mountains being on the very west coast of the country that are distinguishable by an incredible amount of pine trees. The US, while having very similar mountains in states such as Washington, also have a ton more mountain ranges that don't look like anything that can be found in Canada. And that takes us to the end of this tutorial. Hopefully you all learned something from this and can now recognize and tell apart the countries of North America. My next video will be on the countries of Latin America, so if you don't want to miss when I upload that, or any other tutorial, please consider subscribing and turning on notification. It really helps a lot. But that does bring us to the end of this video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.